Want to see the exact moment Angel Reese's marketing stunt backfired? Picture this. She drops her shoe campaign right in the middle of WNBA All-Star Weekend, plastered everywhere, thinking she's about to steal the spotlight in Indianapolis. The problem? Caitlin Clark gets injured, ticket prices plummet 48%, and suddenly Reese's whole campaign looks like she's trying to capitalize on an empty stage. The numbers don't lie. When Clark's out, nobody cares about the theatrics. We're breaking down every cringe moment that Reese did during that weekend and how she's getting destroyed. Comment down below, Baby Giraffe, to roast her latest stunt. Let's go. But can Sarah Spain and the media stop going out there and saying that, like, the Caitlin Clark needs to do something to stop all this, when it is very clear this is a one-sided beef. And a one-sided beef is not from Caitlin Clark. Everyone thought this All-Star Weekend would be the moment women's basketball finally broke through to mainstream sports culture. You know what was supposed to happen? Clark versus Reese in Indianapolis, packed arenas screaming, record viewership numbers that would make ESPN executives actually pay attention to women's sports. The whole thing was set up like a Hollywood script, but then Clark's groin injury gets announced just days before the weekend, and suddenly the entire foundation starts cracking. Fans had been planning this trip for months. They booked flights to Indianapolis, specifically to watch Caitlin Clark play on her home turf. Hotels were sold out. Restaurants were preparing for crowds they hadn't seen since the NCAA tournament brought March Madness to town. The marketing campaigns were already rolling full steam ahead. Corporate sponsors had dumped serious money into this weekend, banking on the Clark-Reese rivalry to deliver eyeballs and engagement. Nike had special editions ready. ESPN was promoting this as must-see television. Social media was buzzing with countdown posts and predictions about who would dominate. It's a story we have been following throughout the past 2 days surrounds a superstar herself, Caitlin Clark, the WNBA star, the Indiana Fever star. Caitlin Clark, she's going to miss all the action on the court. Clark's home state advantage was supposed to be the perfect backdrop for her. Indiana fans were ready to pack Gainbridge Fieldhouse and show the rest of the league what real basketball passion looks like. The storyline wrote itself. Hometown hero takes center stage at the biggest WNBA event of the year. Then, the domino effect started taking shape as news of Clark's injury spread across social media. Suddenly, all those carefully crafted marketing plans looked shaky. The main storyline everyone was invested in just vanished overnight. You could practically hear the air coming out of the balloon. This wasn't just any injury happening to just any player. Clark had single-handedly brought new eyes to the league. She turned casual sports fans into WNBA followers. She made people who never cared about women's basketball tune in just to see what the hype was about. Her absence meant losing the player who actually moved the needle. The weekend that was supposed to crown women's basketball instead became a case study in how fragile the WNBA's momentum really is. All that excitement, all that build-up, all those corporate dollars betting on record-breaking success. It all hinged on one player being healthy enough to show up. When she couldn't, you could see just how much the league's recent growth depended on Clark's star power. But when it comes to the vendors in the arena, the shops in the arena, they're not going to have the same amount of people patronize their business as they would if Caitlin Clark was there. The surrounding restaurants, the surrounding areas, the surrounding attractions, they're not going to have the same number of people patronize their business as they would if Caitlin Clark was healthy. The carefully planned celebration of women's basketball turned into a reminder of how much work the league still has ahead of it. But while Clark was dealing with a legitimate injury and disappointing fans who genuinely wanted to see her play, someone else saw an opportunity to make the weekend all about them. Picture launching your biggest marketing campaign in your rival's hometown while she's injured and can't even show up to defend her turf. That's exactly what Angel Reese did with her I'm in Your City campaign during All-Star Weekend in Indianapolis. She rolled out her Reebok signature shoe launch with billboards, social media pushes, and messaging that screamed territorial takeover right in Caitlin Clark's backyard. Angel Reese, I'm in your city. Walk in your trap, take over your trap. Post it on Instagram. There's about 15 fans there and Reebok put up a board. You would expect Reebok to put up a board. Let's never forget that when There were, you never forget the gigantic Caitlin Clark Nike billboard in Chicago. Let's never forget that's out. If Reebok didn't put up a board for Angel Reese, the timing couldn't have been worse or more calculated depending on how you look at it. Reese's team crafted this entire campaign around being in Indianapolis, knowing full well this was Clark's home turf. The shoe launch wasn't just about introducing a product, it was about making a statement in enemy territory. Phrase, you continue to take shots here, and then when them shots get fired back, nobody likes it. We don't have no videos of Caitlin Clark really taking shots at Angel Reese. Look at what Angel Reese and Reebok are doing for views. Walk in your trap, take over your trap. This is promo they're doing in Indianapolis, where Caitlin Clark plays. That is a clear shot. It's a clear shot. Like I said, this is a fake rivalry. I think you've won one game versus Caitlin Clark. You've never won in Indiana at all. It's just like, you continue to attach yourself to her at every turn a user's promo. Let's be real about what happened here. Reese plastered, walk in your trap, take over your trap, messaging all over social media, even using Bankroll Fresh's track, take over your trap, on her Instagram story. You know what that sounds like when your main competition is sitting out with an injury? It sounds like you're trying to claim victory in a fight where your opponent can't even show up. Fan reactions on social media told the whole story. People were calling it opportunistic and classless given the circumstances. Some fans applauded the marketing move, but way more questioned why Reese felt the need to go this hard when Clark was dealing with a legitimate injury. The comments ranged from playful jabs to straight-up criticism about the timing. Here's where it gets interesting. Reese doubled down instead of adjusting her approach when Clark's absence became official. Other players in the league showed respect for Clark's situation and toned down any competitive messaging. Not Reese. She kept pushing the campaign full steam ahead like nothing had changed. The contrast was obvious. While other all-stars focused on celebrating the weekend and the league's growth, Reese was out there trying to make it all about her rivalry with someone who couldn't even defend herself on the court. One video analysis noted that Reese's team was absolutely great when it comes to marketing and designed the campaign to generate conversation, even if that conversation was negative. Now with Reebok she's using, this is non-stop. She has attached herself to Caitlin Clark at every single turn, and she has benefited. Let's be clear here. Yes, she does receive backlash. She does receive negativity. But she has benefited greatly. She has made millions of dollars off of attaching herself to Caitlin Clark and using her to make her brand bigger. What was supposed to be a bold marketing move instead came across as trying to win a game where your opponent couldn't even suit up. You're talking about taking over someone's city while they're injured and can't play. That's not competition. That's opportunism dressed up as confidence. The whole campaign highlighted what one analyst called a completely one-sided rivalry. Reese was out there throwing punches at air while Clark was dealing with actual basketball problems. But the real proof of how badly this backfired was written in cold, hard numbers. This is absolutely a one-sided rivalry. And we've got to say it like it is. Like, we can't say Caitlin needs to do this, Caitlin needs to do that. Let's be real. The only reason this is still a rivalry is because the other side of the rivalry won't stop it. And by the way, it is extremely beneficial for Angel Reese to be in this rivalry. Want to know exactly how much Caitlin Clark is worth to the WNBA? Just look at what happened when she couldn't play. The ticket price collapse tells the whole story. From $121 to $64, a 48% drop that happened almost overnight when news of her injury broke. This wasn't just a small dip. This was the market screaming that without Clark, the product loses nearly half its value. TickPick data showed the All-Star game was supposed to be the most expensive in league history, with an average purchase price of $262 before Clark got hurt. You know what this means for other marquee matchups? Clark's presence inflates demand across the board in ways the WNBA has never seen before. When she missed regular season games in late May due to a quad strain, resale prices for Fever Road games dropped 47% for Washington and 71% for a Chicago game. That's not normal athlete impact. That's superstar economics. Corporate sponsors and TV networks had to scramble to adjust their expectations and coverage plans. Event packages through WNBA experiences had sold out in advance. The arena sold out within hours of seat releases. All that planning and investment suddenly looked shaky when the main attraction couldn't show up. From $121 all the way down to just $64 after news broke that Caitlin Clark won't be playing. These are people saying, I'm done, I don't want to watch. Caitlin Clark's not. I bought tickets solely to watch Caitlin Clark in the All-Star game. I made accommodations solely to get to Indiana to watch Caitlin Clark in the All-Star game. She is injured. I have no interest in that anymore. People are selling their tickets so much so they just want off of them. 121, okay. You want it for 100? Oh, no, okay. I guess I gotta lower it to 80. Oh, you don't want to buy for any? Okay. I guess I'll lower it to 70. You don't want to buy to 70. I guess I'll lower it to $64. The WNBA is paying attention to these trends. And they're seeing firsthand what Caitlin Clark is worth to this league. The ripple effect hit merchandise sales, concession revenue, and hotel bookings in Indianapolis. Local businesses were counting on Clark bringing thousands of fans to town. Restaurants prepared for crowds they hadn't seen since March Madness. Hotels booked up expecting a basketball tourism boom. Clark's absence didn't just hurt ticket sales, it damaged the entire economic ecosystem around the event. This exposes the league's dependence on one player, which is both a blessing and a curse. Having a transcendent star like Clark brings unprecedented attention and revenue. But when that star goes down, the whole foundation starts wobbling. Let's be real about what these numbers proved. Everyone suspected Clark wasn't just another star, but seeing a 48% ticket price drop made it official. She is the show right now. The WNBA built this entire All-Star weekend around her presence, and without her, fans literally valued the experience at half the price. The market doesn't lie. While the economics were crashing and proving Clark's irreplaceable value, the players decided this was the perfect time to make their own demands. Nothing says read the room like demanding more money while your biggest draw is injured and ticket prices are tanking. That's exactly what happened when WNBA players decided to wear "Pay Us What You Owe Us" shirts during All-Star Game warm-ups. The timing couldn't have been worse. The protest shirts showed up right when fan sentiment was at its lowest point of the weekend. Here you have an event that just lost nearly half its ticket value because Caitlin Clark couldn't play, and the players choose that exact moment to demand more compensation. You know what that looks like to fans who just watch their investment lose 48% of its worth overnight. I mean, you go mess around, and a large, massive group of fans are gonna be like, enough is enough. We've never had to see anything like it in sports, but you don't see these other leagues going around talking crazy about their fan bases all the time, like this league does. It's continuous. They're running their mouth about the people that are paying money to see them. You don't have other jobs where people woke up. You're in a public job that's in front of the world. Players chose the exact moment when their product's value was being questioned to demand a bigger slice of the pie. The WNBA is in the middle of CBA negotiations, with players pushing for better travel conditions, higher salaries, expanded rosters, and more support for mothers. These are legitimate concerns that deserve attention, but the timing made it look like the players were completely tone-deaf to the economic reality playing out in real time. Let's be real about how this landed with fans. Social media exploded with criticism, pointing out the irony of demanding more pay when half the audience only showed up for one player who wasn't even there. Comments ranged from confusion to outright anger, with many fans feeling like the players were biting the hand that feeds them. The optics were terrible. The legitimate grievances behind the protest got lost in the poor timing. Players are frustrated that their salaries haven't kept pace with the league's growth, especially with a new $2.2 billion media rights deal starting in 2026. WNBA President Nneka Ogwumike criticized the league's approach, which focused on salary caps instead of meeting player expectations for more equitable revenue distribution. You know what other professional leagues do? They don't stage labor protests during their marquee showcase events. The NBA doesn't have players wearing protest shirts during All-Star Weekend. The NFL doesn't use the Super Bowl as a platform for contract disputes. There's a time and place for these conversations, and All-Star Weekend isn't it. This added another layer of negativity to what was already becoming a disappointing weekend for fans. First, Clark gets injured, then ticket prices crash. Then players start demanding more money while the whole thing falls apart. Commissioner Kathy Engelbert called the negotiations productive and constructive, but players dismissed the discussions as a wasted opportunity. I know as a fan of sports for 60 years now, I know that, no one's ever happy with officiating. All sports deal with it, but we're working hard to make sure we're putting the best product out on the court, and our officiating then follows that. The protest highlighted real issues, but came across as players demanding raises while their biggest star was sidelined and their product was losing value. Even Clark herself said, "We should be paid more." But she wasn't the one wearing protest shirts during warm-ups. But here's why none of this doom and gloom matters in the long run. This weekend proved Clark isn't just a player. She's the foundation the entire league's growth is built on. When she goes down, ticket prices crash by 48%. When she's healthy, the WNBA breaks attendance records and gets mainstream attention it's never seen before. Angel Reese can launch all the shoe campaigns she wants in Indianapolis. She can plaster "I'm in your city" billboards everywhere and act like she's taking over. But you know what? The numbers don't care about her marketing stunts. Without Clark there to actually compete against, Reese was basically shadowboxing in an empty gym while fans lost interest and stayed home. This setback will only make Clark's return more powerful and the Fever's championship run more compelling in 2025.